Rebel Yell podcast on the Trib Live High School Sports Network. We are here to salute our HSSN Week 5 Team of the Week. And I was careful to say HSSN and not WPIAL Team of the Week. We are saluting the Albert Gallatin Colonials, who are playing an independent schedule, but man, they are making a lot of headlines. Drew Dindl, their head coach, is kind enough to join us. Drew, we were just talking about, first of all, congratulations on the success of your game in Week 5 and then of your season.
Thank you, Don. I just appreciate the honor, man. It's like a surreal moment, for us, just what's going on right now. And then just to be selected for this, I'm head over heels right now.
It's earned. I always say hashtag earned. The one thing you just mentioned before we started that I got a kick out of is the fact that, you guys had a game on Friday in Maryland, Allegheny High School in Maryland. But from where you guys are well south in as far as the southwestern Pennsylvania is concerned, still over an hour trip to there. And you had mentioned that you guys had a fan bus come and make that long trip as well. That's got to be quite a feeling, not only for you and your staff, but also for the team.
Oh, it's the first time I can ever remember, the football team getting a fan bus to a game. And, they did it all themselves. It wasn't like, hey, the principal put a sign-up sheet. They call them the bleacher creatures. They started a sign-up sheet, and there was probably 50-some kids on that bus. They were definitely louder than the other fans last night. So I mean, they brought the energy for sure.
Yeah, tremendous. You guys are having an outstanding season, so it's good to see that school spirit is permeating. 6-0 after a wild 63-56 victory over the Fighting Campers of Allegheny High School down in Allegheny, Maryland. You also told me that, this wasn't a let's spread the ball and throw the ball all over the place kind of game. Both teams sort of old school offenses that were having, great success on the ground.
Yeah, I bet there was probably 600-700 yards rushing last night going on. And, wing T versus flex bone and old traditional, old school handed off. And Allegheny did find some success throwing a little bit. I think we actually threw for 3 or 4 passes last night, which is a lot for us. But, it was definitely a barn burner for that type of offense.
Big game for T. Gooseman, your leading rusher, 285 yards and 7 touchdowns. Just talk about his performance against Allegheny and really his season so far.
He's played these guys for 4 years now. He took a beating, the last 3, and he really had a chip on his shoulder that he wanted to do well against these guys. And he just kept feeding him. They were worried about us getting outside on the pitch, on the toss. So they were kind of loose up the middle, and that's just what we did. He was ready for it, and 7 touchdowns later, here we are. It set a school record last night. With Grayling Sanders, it was at 6, and
wow,
with 7 last night.
Now, as a coach, are you aware of that kind of stuff while the game's going on, or is that stuff you find out in the locker room?
So we were about to run the clock out, and I think we were on the 10-yard line. And we got the first down. We could run the clock out, and he said, "Coach, I'm 1 away from the school record." And he kind of put that on in my head, and I was like, he's been going too hard. And but he after he said it, he caught himself. He's like, "No, Coach, just let's just take a knee. Let's just take it." And I was like, "Nah, we're going to get the record. We're going to get the record here." So we laid and punch it in, and good thing we did because Allegheny got it back and scored real quick right at the end. So, he's just a phenomenal kid. Does everything we ask him to. Just teachers all love him. Just a great young man.
Yeah, that's a tremendous performance. Great that you were able to get him the record, and as you mentioned, it helped 63-56, a wild victory for the Colonials to improve to 6-0. Your quarterback Bronx Jameson. Anytime you as you mentioned, you haven't asked him to do a lot through the air. He's over 200 yards throwing, I think, and got a handful of touchdown passes. You haven't asked a lot of him, but the quarterback in those kind of offenses, they got to have a little smarts to them, be able to read and react. And it seems like he's been doing a nice job of that.
Phenomenal. He's our John Stockton of the offense. He just like you said, he's got to read, he's got to pitch, he's got to keep it, whatever. And I put a lot on his plate. Whether because we run it. Once they start shutting us down with something, we got to tag it and run it a different way. So he has to know where everybody's going to be at all times, and sometimes those kids forget, so he has to remind them where they're supposed to be. But he knows the ins and outs of this offense, and 3 years in, he runs it at a high level.
You give some also you need the big boys up front to be able to get the job done, to give some space. Might not always take a lot of space, but some space for T to go wild. Give some love to your offensive line.
Oh, we wouldn't be here with those front five, and then we got a chunky set that we bring in a six. So we got six guys that we count on, and they are the anchor. We do not do anything without them, and I tell them every day. Being a former lineman, I know you'll always get the love. So I make sure I tell them that a lot of this stuff's because of them, and I know their teammates and the skill guys let them know as well. So they're definitely well loved on our team.
6-0, averaging over 46 points per game. Most nights you are playing defense as well, even though you've allowed 27.8 points per game. That's still a 20-point difference in margin in the plus, which is where you want to be. Coming into this season, you guys had success last year, winning 6 of 9. Is this kind of what you expected, or is this team kind of surpassing expectations at this point?
Yeah, I can't say I expected this. We had a lot of these same guys that are on the roster now. They didn't miss a workout, starting in November. So I knew we had a good, hardworking group. We did lose a lot of talent from last year that I was worried about, and just wondering who was going to step up and fill those positions. But just the moxie of these guys. We're fighting. We're down. Against Greensburg Salem, we come back and pull it out. This game was back and forth last night, and normally, back, when we were not so successful, any game like that where things went wrong, it did not go our way. We just didn't have that where we could keep fighting and hang on. But this group's different. They're pretty crafty. They want to claw and fight.
I know the coaches, every game is a new challenge. Every game is the focus. Every next game is the focus. Kids, though, we're talking about teenagers, so you hope they don't look ahead. But when you're talking about your independent schedule, you mentioned Greensburg Salem from the WPIAL. You also Carrick, which is another independent team. You guys have knocked off. You've defeated a couple teams now, Northern Garrett and Allegheny High School from Maryland. But I would imagine the two big wins come against fellow Fayette County independents, Uniontown a couple weeks ago, and back in early September, a nice 2-touchdown victory over Connellsville. The kids have to be a little extra juiced for those games.
Yeah, they're very meaningful. Like you said, we're county rivals, and Connellsville we've never had much success with. I mean, last year was the first time we've ever beat them, and this year was the first time we beat them at their place. I mean, and we're getting great crowds. The games at Uniontown, the games at our place, the games at Connellsville. they're packing the stands. So, I mean, it's a great environment for Friday night football.
You guys, since going independent in 2019, have had 4 winning seasons, complete opposite of what it was like before. Are these kids, these current kids, cognizant of what it was like back in the day, back when you took over in 2018, or are they more, following what has been happening and some of the success this program has had in recent years?
Yeah, they haven't mentioned much in the past. They know of it, you know what I mean? They just before you used to just think of Albert Gallatin, and that was, man, they're bad. That's just a bad football team. They're not very successful. But yeah, we don't mention that much stuff anymore. And I told a reporter last night that interviewed me before the game, it's something that we needed to teach these guys was how to win, and we just couldn't do that, prior to doing that independent move. But now they're starting to get a little bit of that success and learning how to do that, and we're getting the results of fighting through a game for 4 quarters, even if it's a tight one.
It really is great to see. The whole idea, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, of schools that have left has always been, we need to get this thing fixed. We need to get this thing right, and then hopefully come back and be able to compete. It's not even we want to win WPIAL championships. So, yeah, that's the goal of everybody. But to be able to compete on a Friday night so that the athletes are coming out and want to participate on the football team. So that seems to have been the mindset of several teams, several schools that have chosen this path, this independent path. And now, there's a lot of talk of others to follow as we are getting to a new 2-year cycle that's coming up starting next fall. If I'm confusing people who aren't, don't know the whole lay of the land, I apologize. But every 2 years, the PIAA sets the guidelines for each classification, and schools move up or down based on enrollment. And that's when decisions are made, such as these, who's going to accept the WPIAL schedule and who is not, who's going to play independent. You come in 2018, again, just absolutely rough sledding. I think the number I saw was in the first 18 years of this century, 26 wins, 151 losses. The final year that you guys participated in the WPIAL in 2018, 479 points allowed, 46 points scored. That's no fun for anybody on both sides of the ball. You guys were one of the first ones to sort of say we got to try to fix it, and we're not going to be able to fix it here. You're new. Just talk a little bit about what made you do, or what helped you know that, hey, this is the right decision, even though I'm sure it was a painful decision.
You hit it. What was it, 400 and some to 40? All year long. I don't think we scored a point in September that year, and just getting beat on constantly. And we were in those shoes that these guys are doing now. We were asking ads, what can we do to keep these kids safe, and going through stuff. And it was hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. Going in and kind of tucking your tail and begging for mercy there. But we were just at that point where we were worried about safety, and we were definitely not going to keep a football team or a program. I think if we would have done another year in the WPIAL, I don't know if there had been football at Albert Gallatin.
Drew Dindl, the head coach of the Albert Gallatin Colonials, kind enough to join us. His team now 6-0, playing an independent schedule. Your first year, 2019, you guys finished 5-3. That's manna from heaven for this program that has struggled so much. Did you realize then? It wasn't an easy decision, but it was the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing the fans show up and the kids getting excited to actually play football, and then competing, and not just winning, but we were in every single game that year. And it wasn't really going in thinking that why are we here? We're just going to get blown out anyways. And that was all those years prior to is, the kids showing up and knowing each week, trying to get them to practice hard and trying to get them to work, and just knowing on Friday you were going to get beat on a little bit, and it was just hard to do that. But that following year, they started seeing a little bit of success. Practices were different. You got more interest from some basketball players, some baseball players. So it changed drastically in just one season.
I was just talking to Chris Harlan about this, and part of the whole idea of changing a culture, and I've talked to a lot of coaches who have been able to come into programs that are downtrodden and help lift them up to being competitive, and some of them even to a championship type level. And the one thing is, every school has athletes. It's getting those athletes interested. And when you're out there, that's the one thing I think that a lot of people don't think about is if you're a pretty good basketball player or a pretty good baseball player or lacrosse or whatever, a good athlete who maybe is, could play football, but is better at a different sport. Why do you want to risk your body playing football when you're going to go out there and get mercy rolled every week? That's the battle that coaches have to do, is to convince those athletes that, hey, come be part of the solution, right?
That's it. And we weren't getting those kids, and that's the exact reason. Why would I chance it, when I can be a successful basketball player, wrestler, whatever. But now it's different. It's not so much convincing. They want to play football now. So it's pretty cool.
And it's got to be a tremendous feeling for you and the staff that has been, at Albert Gallatin now for a while, to see this kind of success, to see this kind of enthusiasm in the hallways, in the stands on a Friday night, and sometimes making an hour-plus trip to a road game, from where it was to where it is now. There's got to be a lot of pride for you and your staff as well.
Oh, huge. And what's great is, all my guys that I have are AG guys. I got all of them that either played or coached at AG for a long, long time. And, yeah, we went through the bad times. And just to see everything going so well right now, it's exciting. And you're looking around and people are staying for 4 quarters of football, not leaving, after the band plays or something like that. So,
yeah,
that's usually what we were getting, prior to this. But now, fan buses and whatnot, and here we are.
Dude, just so happy. So I'm so happy for you guys, and I'm so happy for any of the teams that have left. I didn't understand it at first. I've been doing this long enough that you just, you rub dirt in it and try again next year. But at some point, you got to change things, and the fact that you guys took a chance. And it is paying off. I asked you about this year, if you thought that what is going on is what you expected. I'll ask you about, this journey in the land of independence, if you will. When you first went there and made the move and made the tough decision, did you kind of envision this, or were you like, well, it would be nice if at one point we had this kind of success?
That was, it was a good, maybe we could, but playing some teams like, James Buchanan, we had no clue who James Buchanan was. We had no clue who some of these guys were. Northern Garrett to start off, Allegheny to start. We knew, just they played some teams that we tried to gauge, like maybe similar opponents that maybe played somebody that we knew about. But yeah, we had no idea what we were getting into, who we were playing. But now we've played these guys for 6-7 years. We kind of created a little rivalry between us. But before that, yeah, we kind of went in blind, not knowing what was going to happen.
You're not like the Minnesota Vikings going to Dublin to take on the Steelers and then staying over there and the following week playing Cleveland in London. But you are heading back to Maryland after going there for week 5. You will go back to the Terrapin State in week 6. You will be taking on Clear Spring, Maryland. That was one of the things too that people talked about when this whole independent thing became a thing. Is oh my gosh, the bus rides. Oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. How has the travel overall in general? How has that been?
Not terrible. To be honest with you, and this will be our longest trip of the year. We try to how we scheduled, like we'll do one really long trip. Like Weir was our long trip last year. So Clear Spring will be our long trip this year. Before, I remember my last year in the Whitfield, we were going to Armstrong, and that was every bit of two plus.
Yeah, that's true.
So, to go to a game that you're going to compete in, it's a little bit better than going to a game that you're going to get beat on a little bit. So, the bus rides are not too bad anymore.
$1 million question, Drew. 6-0. You got games left, as you mentioned. You just talked about the Clear Spring game in Maryland coming up. Then 3 more to follow, with 2 of them at home, and the one left, hopefully, will be a short trip to Republic, Redstone Field, to take on Bronzeville. So 4 games still on the docket. No matter what happens in those 4 games, has the process begun about what Albert Gallatin wants to do? Possibly either staying independent or possibly, coming back to the WPIAL.
There's definitely talk. There's been some proposals out that I've been made aware of, that we're looking into. At the end of the day, we're going to do what's best for us. And if we feel, maybe those proposals will be really good for us, that's the end goal, is to get back. I mean, we were never a team that said we're never coming back. We want to be back in there, and we're just trying to find the right time, the right place. And hopefully, with some other teams starting to go through what we're going through, maybe they will, even some things out, and we can get back and, play some competitive ball in the Whitfield.
With nothing to aim for as far as a championship or a section title or any of that stuff, obviously success on a Friday night is big, but I have a feeling that this Colonials team and other independent teams are taking the small victories, taking the fan bus, bus trip an hour away as a small victory, walking around school on a Friday in your game jersey and having people high-fiving you and showing you lots of love, going out on a home game on a Friday and, the stands are full. And as you mentioned, they stay full the whole time. Those are the kind of victories that really are driving these kids, since there is no, championship at stake. Is that, am I close on that or no?
Yeah, you're 100% right. I'm getting administration from the high school telling me, how different the building is now. That everybody's getting along, the band, the cheerleaders, the football team, the other teams. And, that shows, just to get a fan bus created by the students, which, I can't send out enough, thank yous to those guys for doing that. But it's a different world out there, with the success going on, and the school pride that's happening, everywhere, and the community is also involved. Everybody's excited to come to watch a AG football game on Fridays at York Run Stadium.
It has been a long, interesting journey for you, your staff, and the school district in general, but produced winning seasons in 19, 20, and 21, as well as last year. And obviously you've clinched another winning season this year. You'd like to really top it all off with 4 more victories and go 10-0. That would be a huge feather in your cap. But no matter, like I said, no matter what happens, you should be very proud of what is going on there at Albert Gallatin. And I'm glad that we have this forum to let everybody know. I think it's a sort of a negative vibe around the district now, and it doesn't have to be that way.
No, I thank you, Don. I thank you for giving us this platform and showing that it's not a bad thing. At first, it really was. I got a lot of hate when we first did this, and it was always my comment was always, hey, it's for the kids. It's the best decision for the kids because that's who's out there at the end of the day. Just it does get better. So I mean, we're going through it, and like I said, the end goal is to get back. Hopefully, we can get there and then have success there once we do.
There's something special to be said about raising a trophy or playing at Acrisure Stadium, but just playing for school pride, which is really, I think, something we've gotten away from in high school sports, to be quite honest with you. It's become too much business, too much other stuff that it used to be. our school district against your school district, and may the best team win. That's what the bottom line for scholastic sports should be, and hopefully you guys are an example of us getting back to that. Again, Drew, big time kudos to you, your staff, and of course the players for their success thus far and continued success. Get that sweep in Maryland.
Yes, that's the goal. Yep, we're back at it on Monday there to get ready to take that trip to Clear Spring.
Drew Dindl, the head coach of the Albert Gallatin Colonials, the undefeated Albert Gallatin Colonials, music to his ears, kind enough to join us. Our WPIA, our Trib HSSN Week 5 Team of the Week, and they have earned it. We thank Drew for joining us. We also thank our producer, Chris Lackner, for helping out. I'm Don Rebel. Thank you for being with us and supporting high school sports here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.